Aziraphale arrived at Crowley's flat, cradling him in his arms as he navigated through the dimly lit surroundings with caution. A feeling blossoming within him, a gnawing awareness that something was out of place. Yet, he reasoned as he advanced, that mystery could wait for a more opportune moment. Pushing the burgeoning unease to the periphery of his consciousness, he recognized that for now, his primary concern was the safety and well-being of his friend. Cocking his head inquisitively, he pondered for whose safety this might be. Arriving in the bedroom, he lowered the creature beneath the sheets on the bed, his brow knit with a genuine concern. Content with his efforts thus far, he strode toward the door, shaping reality en route with the fluidity of a conductor guiding an orchestra, shifting Crowley back to his human form. As Aziraphale pivoted to close the door behind him, preparing to witness the resolution of his efforts, he was greeted with an unexpected sight: Crowley, ensconced in nothing but the sheets, the fabric extending modestly to his waist. "Oh, I do wish you'd buy clothes rather than wish them into being," he commented with a disapproving glance accompanying his words. A wiggle of his fingers, and a nightshirt materialized upon Crowley's form, earning a nod of approval from Aziraphale. "Much more presentable," he noted, before turning his attention to exploring the flat. While Aziraphale traversed the flat, he wandered through scenes of devastation. Moving from one room to another, he set chairs upright, repaired shattered windows, and erased scorch marks from surfaces that once gleamed immaculately. An understanding settled within him. There had been no battle, no invasion, no intruder. The truth was more unsettling in its simplicity. With each wrong righted, Aziraphale battled against the sense of suffering that had etched themselves onto the afflictions scattered throughout the space. With each repair, with each restoration, Aziraphale felt a tug on his heartstrings, a constant reminder of the afflictions he couldn't help but feel, an undeniable responsibility, a pain he yearned to heal. With his cleaning task accomplished, Aziraphale took a moment to appreciate his efforts, inhaling deeply as he absorbed the transformation he had wrought in the once chaotic space. A self-satisfied grin twitched the corners of his mouth as he savored the sense of accomplishment. Yet, as he stood there, a fleeting doubt brushed against his thoughts. His gaze wavered toward the closed door of Crowley's room. A disquiet settled in, the weight of expectations pressing upon him. Yes, ensuring Crowley's safety was vital, sharing his revelations was necessary, and preventing his friend from indulging in a centuries-long slumber as he had done once before, was crucial. But if his location was discovered, his celestial office would hardly look favorably upon his staying here, beneath the roof of an enemy they opposed. Caught in contemplation, he shifted on the balls of his feet, uncertainty casting a shadow over his expression. His eyes flicked from the main door to his current position within the flat, a silent debate fighting within. Ultimately, he reached a conclusion, with a nod of affirmation to himself sealing the decision. He turned on his heel and made his way to Crowley's room. A rustling of bedsheets and other nocturnal sounds greeted him from the outside. He paused a moment, a quiet prayer that his presence would comfort the restless slumber of his friend. Entering the obscurity of the shadowed room and settling into the vacant spot on the bed, he reached into his inside jacket pocket to retrieve a small book, The Anatomy of Legerdemain, the first edition. Within a mere handful of minutes, the hush around him grew profound, enveloping him in a cocoon of stillness. Amidst the quietude of the room, he surrendered himself to the pages of the book before him. Yet, within this reverie, a flicker of sound in a muffled moan pierced the silence. Aziraphale's thoughts momentarily shifted from the book as his quizzical eyes lifted, drawn by the unexpected interruption. He searched the room, curiosity etching lines of concern on his face until his gaze rested on the source of the disturbance. Crowley shifted, stirring in his sleep once more. He rolled over towards the angel, one arm extending across Aziraphale's waist to clutch a part of his shirt. He nestled his face into Aziraphale's side, his grip unexpectedly firm, reminiscent of someone desperately clutching to avoid a fall. White knuckles twisted into Aziraphale's side with a further discordant groan. He gazed down at his friend with a mix of fret and fondness settling upon his slumbering companion. As though seeking consolation in his own thoughts, he let his mind ruminate over past conversations. If, Upon the morning sun's return, he regales me again with tales of demon dance troupes decked in sequins. He mused, I fear I might be compelled to take drastic measures. The dreamy countenance that adorned Aziraphale's face darkened, as if the relentless truth demanded its entrance, gently pushing through the veil of memory. Rebellious against the confines of introspected sanctuary and driven by the events that unfolded in the preceding hours, his contemplation unfurled like tendrils of smoke, slipping through the cracks of his cogitation. Refusing restraint and haven, his mind pondered further to what chasms of disturbance could ripple through a demon's being who has trod the shadowy corridors of the truly infernal. This isn't custard, Aziraphale murmured, his words slipping from his lips like a lover's whispered confession. Over the course of many evenings spent in Crowley's company, amidst far too many bottles of wine, Aziraphale had increasingly become aware of the demon's irrational fear, or at least disdain, of custard. It was a peculiarity he would never dare discuss in the harsh light of day, fearing the explosive consequences such a revelation might entail. Yet, within the sanctuary of his own thoughts, he couldn't help but wonder about the origins of this curious phobia. Within Aziraphale's deep introspections he had long deduced that the inexplicable anxieties harbored by humans were, in essence, fragments of ancient truths woven into the fabric of their collective psyche. Just as the superstition of walking under a ladder was considered unlucky due to the logical risk of encountering falling paint or inadvertently dislodging the ladder, he'd concluded that custard must have had its own origins in oral tradition. In his vivid imagination, Aziraphale envisioned families gathered around the dinner table, telling stories as they enjoyed their meal. That these narratives, as they unfolded, would inevitably reach their peak where beloved characters teetered on the precipice of ominous fates at the point where dessert would be served. In such a peculiar and precarious setting, custard would be the logical lifeline woven into the tales by the children, employed as the elixir of salvation, the magical agent capable of banishing the shadows and breathing new life into even the most foreboding of tales. It was, in Aziraphale's reckoning, in the arcane recesses of a demon's psyche, custard must have, over the eons, metamorphosed into a symbol not of indulgence but of all things restorative, an emblem of hope and illumination. In the shadowy corners of demonology, where light was anathema, custard stood as an unexpected beacon of hope, a creamy, golden icon of redemption. Cloaked in a tapestry of doubt woven with threads of compassion, Aziraphale pushed the matter of custard to the periphery of his thoughts. A smouldering ember of guilt found its home within his heart once more and began to flicker. He couldn't help but feel a weight of responsibility for the pain that seemed etched into the very fabric of the physical world around him, as well as the turmoil plaguing his friend. In the midst of this peculiar confluence of emotions, a thought, stranger than any sequence of words he had ever entertained, slipped past his lips. Am I more detrimental to you than custard, my dear friend? Uncertain, yet suffused with tenderness, Aziraphale gingerly lowered his arm, allowing his fingers to brush against Crowley's shoulder in a gesture of reassurance. As Aziraphale's touch made contact, Crowley's grip gradually relaxed, and his arm slipped into a more resting position. Feeling the tension leave Crowley's body, Aziraphale felt his own burdens begin to melt away, leaving in their wake a familiar, soothing sense of comfort in their closeness. With a concluding punctuation of a soft squeeze, he allowed his arm to come to rest on Crowley's shoulder to offer further solace. As he seemed to drift even deeper into a tranquil state within this relaxed embrace, Aziraphale returned his attention back to the book still cradled in his free hand, its pages a sanctuary against the renewed quiet of the room.